Hello, everyone. I want to talk about Chapter 8 for this week, and I want to talk about shaping. So we're going to talk a little bit about shaping in correlation and connection with the PowerPoint and the chapter review for you in your textbook. So let's talk about this a little bit together, okay? Because there's some vocabulary that you may not be incredibly familiar with, but it's important for us to use the right vocabulary. So what happens when we want to reinforce a behavior to occur more often is that the behavior is already present, right? The behavior that we want to reinforce already exists, and then we reinforce it for it to occur more frequently. But what happens if the behavior isn't exhibited at all? It doesn't exist at all. What if we need to create a behavior, okay? What if we need to create a behavior? So what we are going to do is we are going to start shaping, okay, which the end result of shaping is a new behavior, okay? We're going to start shaping by doing a task analysis. And you'll see this on 125 and 126. And this is where we analyze a complex behavior and break it down into the individual component responses. What this means is we want to understand what we would need to do to get to the complex behavior, okay? So we want a complex behavior that someone has not done before, okay? Or it's in such a low level that they're not exhibiting it in a way we want them to. So you'll see in your text, it talks about having a mental hospital resident speak, okay? So we have to ask ourselves, in this example, do a task analysis. What does it mean to speak? Right? Are we talking about one word, full sentences, meaningful communications like utterances and so on? So what does it mean to speak? Okay, so that's a task analysis. Then we want to look at what behavior they're currently exhibiting. Okay, that is called the operant level. So in this example, are they mute? Are they mumbling? Can they say some words, but those words don't make sense, aren't logical, whatever it may be? So what is the operant level? Okay, and then what is our terminal behavior? What is the goal that we're trying to accomplish? So in between operant level and your terminal behavior are intermediate behaviors, okay? So that's what we're trying to figure out with our task analysis. What does it look like to speak, for example? What's our already operant level? What's our terminal? And then, of course, what are the behaviors in between that we would look at? So this is what ends up happening, okay? So it's very straightforward, the system, the formula. So we start with our operant level, or our first approximation, the behavior that is the closest to our terminal behavior, okay? The closest to our target, what we want them to be doing, okay? So then we reinforce that first approximation until it becomes common, okay? Until they grow to expect that reinforcement. Then we stop reinforcing that level of the behavior. Now, as you already know, when we use extinction and stop a behavior that has previously been reinforced, we can expect to see an extinction burst. Now, when we witness the extinction burst, we are waiting for a new novel behavior that is closer to our target behavior, right? That terminal behavior. So then we choose to reinforce the next closer approximation to that target behavior. Repeat the steps. This new approximation, we reinforce until it becomes common. Once it becomes common, we stop reinforcing, wait for the extinction burst, choose a novel behavior from that extinction burst. That's the next closer approximation, and so on and so on. So let me give you an example that's not in your book and is not in your PowerPoint to help you understand this. Let's say we bring in a dog to the room. Dog comes in the room right now that you're in, and we want that dog to jump on top of the table, okay? So it's going to jump on top of the table right here. Now that dog does not normally do that, because if it normally did that, all we would do is wait for the dog to jump on the table and reinforce. We wouldn't need shaping. And the dog has never done it in the past. Right? So this is a new behavior for the dog. Okay? So we have to do a task analysis. What does it look like? What's the definition of jumping on top of the table? Okay? So we have to have the dog all four paws on the table. Okay? And standing. Okay, so that's a task analysis of our terminal behavior. Okay? Then we say, okay, where's the dog at now? What's the operant level? What's our first approximation? Well, the dog comes in the room and he just stands there. So coming into the room is the closest current approximation to jumping on the table. So the dog comes in the room and we reinforce and reinforce and reinforce until the dog coming into the room is common, because the dog is expecting reinforcement, right? Once it becomes common, we stop reinforcing the behavior. The dog then looks around. Wait a second. Where's my treat? I came into the room just like you trained me to. Where is my treat? And this extinction burst happens. And he runs around the room and he puts his paw on the table. Boom. We've got another behavior, a closer approximation to the terminal behavior of the dog jumping on there. So the dog puts his paw on the table. We reinforce, 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 reinforce until what becomes common? The dog putting its paw on the table becomes common. We then stop. So now the dog comes in the room, puts his paw on the table, looks at us expectantly. Where's my reward? Where's my reinforcer for putting the paw on the table? There is none. And the dog gets really upset. The dog doesn't know what's going on. It's running around the room. It runs back out the door. It barks. It dances. It finally comes around and puts two paws on the table. Now notice, that's a novel behavior that's a closer approximation to our target or terminal behavior. We reinforce, 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 reinforce until it becomes common. Stop. Wait for the extinction burst. He then finally jumps on top of the table and we reinforce. So that is what we're looking for with shaping. Now there's a really good explanation of shaping, kind of a summary of it, on page 144 of your text, okay? So I really recommend that you read the whole thing. This is not a long chapter, okay? Look over the PowerPoint, read the chapter, take really good notes. But I hope that this video helps explain how shaping works, okay? And the use of vocabulary. Very, very important that you get comfortable using vocabulary, right? So we have our first approximation of the target behavior, reinforce till it becomes common, extinction burst, new novel behavior, that's the closer approximation to the target behavior, reinforce that, and then just start over again. And keep doing that until you get to your target behavior. I hope this helps, and I look forward to seeing you in the discussion. And remember, you've got your first test this week, so I'm excited about it. It's going to open up on Thursday, and it's due by Sunday, okay? So if you have any questions, as always, let me know, and I'm excited to hear from you and to see your learning.